Congresswoman Alana Mitchell stood quietly in the terminal, her boarding pass in hand, trying to hold herself together. She wasn't traveling for politics or public duty this time. She was on her way to say goodbye to her cousin, more like a sister, who had passed unexpectedly just 2 days earlier. The flight was only a few hours, but emotionally it felt like crossing a continent. Alana had grown up in the same small Texas town as her cousin, and they shared everything: birthdays, scraped knees, teenage heartbreaks, and Sunday dinners filled with laughter and gospel music. As a woman of color, Alana had fought hard to get to where she was, through law school, grassroots campaigns, and a seat in Congress. She had faced challenges that most would never see. But today wasn't about fighting, it was about grieving. It was about family. She was dressed simply, not as a public figure, but as a heartbroken woman carrying pain and memories through a crowded airport. She wasn't seeking attention or special treatment. She just wanted to get there in time, to hold her aunt's hand, to stand by the casket, to honor a life that meant so much. But as Alana approached the TSA checkpoint, everything shifted. A staff member scanned her ID and looked her over with a pause that didn't feel right. Moments later, she was pulled aside. No explanation, no courtesy, just a cold order to step into secondary screening. She complied, trying to stay calm. But as the search went on, it became clear this wasn't standard. The tone was sharp, the process invasive. She asked why she was being singled out, but got no real answer. Time kept slipping away. 10 minutes, 15. The gate for her flight, just a few steps away, was now closing. Panic set in, but not just from the risk of missing the flight. It was the deeper pain of being treated like a threat, like her presence alone was suspicious. It wasn't about security. It was about something else entirely. Something she had faced before. Just as the final boarding call echoed through the terminal, Desmond Blake arrived at the security area, his face tense, his steps quick and deliberate. He had dropped Alana off at the curb less than an hour ago, expecting a quiet goodbye. But when her name lit up on his phone with no answer, he knew something was wrong. When he saw her standing off to the side, surrounded by staff, his heart sank. Desmond wasn't just Alana's husband. He was a retired federal judge who had spent decades defending civil rights and due process. And what he saw wasn't standard procedure. It was intimidation wrapped in protocol. Without raising his voice, he stepped forward and asked for the supervisor. His calm, firm tone cut through the tension. "What's the legal basis for this delay?" he asked. The room shifted. Faces turned. And suddenly, the staff that had been so sure of themselves just moments earlier began to fumble for answers. Desmond wasn't there to threaten. He was there to witness, to hold people accountable. And in that moment, the balance of power began to change. A bystander had quietly filmed the moment. Desmond's calm demand for answers, Alana's quiet strength. The video made its way online, and within hours, it was everywhere. People weren't just watching, they were outraged. Thousands shared their own stories of being singled out, disrespected, or silenced in public spaces. Hashtags like Stand With Alana and Equal Dignity started trending. Major news outlets picked up the story. What began as one woman trying to make it to a funeral became a symbol of something bigger. It wasn't just about power or position. It was about how people are treated when no one's looking. The fact that Alana was a congresswoman made the message even louder. If someone with her status could be mistreated so easily, what about the rest of us? The nation started paying attention, and the pressure for answers began to build. As the story gained traction, It sparked something deeper than outrage. It opened a window into a system too many had quietly endured. Alana's experience wasn't an isolated case. It was a mirror reflecting what countless others had faced in silence. The looks, the extra screening, the subtle suggestions that you don't belong. For years, these moments were dismissed as misunderstandings or overreactions. But now, with proof, people were connecting the dots. Experts and activists began weighing in, pointing to long-standing patterns of profiling, especially against people of color, women, and those perceived as having less power. This wasn't just a bad day at the airport, it was a symptom of a deeper issue, and for the first time in a long time, those in charge couldn't ignore it. Alana had walked through those doors as a grieving cousin. She walked out as the face of a conversation America could no longer afford to avoid. In the weeks that followed, Alana remained mostly quiet in the media. She didn't need to shout. Her story was already speaking volumes. But when she did step forward, it wasn't with anger. It was with purpose. Standing at a podium surrounded by community leaders and everyday travelers, she spoke clearly. This isn't about me. This is about every person who's ever been treated like they didn't matter. Her words carried weight, not because of her title, but because they echoed what millions had felt. The airport released a statement, an internal review was launched, but more importantly, people began to demand more from the spaces we all pass through. Airports, schools, hospitals, courtrooms. Spaces that should serve everyone, not just those who look or sound a certain way. What happened to Alana wasn't fair. It wasn't right, but it wasn't wasted. Because out of that moment came momentum, a push for training, for accountability, for change. Not just policy change, but a shift in mindset. That dignity is not a privilege, it's a right.